Hi everyone, it's Leanna here. This is the Monday the 13th of January, and this is our mushroom update number 4. So this is the oyster mushrooms, and I've gotten 2 flushes. This is the one that had the heavy flush to begin with, and I got like 24 ounces of mushroom on. It hasn't come into its second flush yet. This is the one that had the lighter flush to begin with, and then had the second one, and then the total mushrooms I got off of that is 24 ounces so far. And then I did, was it midweek last week, Thursday, Wednesday? No, it must have been Thursday. I took off the mushrooms that were on there. So each subsequent flush, these kits are only guaranteed one flush, and I think by that is if you have a really good luck and you have a really nice big flush, then it's possible, especially with these oyster mushrooms, I guess they're very good about using up their medium. I mean, the weight to, I forget what that was, the weight of the medium to the amount of mushrooms ratio is quite high. Me getting another flush off of either one of these might be debatable, but I also know from the reading they said as each subsequent flush you get less mushrooms, something to do with how big a flush you got in the first place, and then each subsequent flush will get less, and will also take longer to get another flush off of. So I'll let this go, I think, another week. So next Monday, if I don't get anything off of it, then I think, well, I'll just get them ready, let them dry out, and they'll be ready for mushroom compost. So the room in here is about, I don't know if you guys can't really see it, maybe you can. So it's a little about 62, and actually humidity is right around 55%. Here's the lion's mane. Now I know this one is doing something. This is the one where the first flush dried out on me. We'll tip this up a little bit. You can see there's some baby mushrooms trying to pop out there. I may cut the holes in the bag there to help that out a little bit. There's some coming there and there. It's a matter of keeping these moist. So this is the one where the flush wasn't the heaviest, and I actually dried out and halted growth on me. This one here is the one that I got, what was it, like 7 ounces or something off of it. And there is some starting right there. That's kind of that on them. The biggest thing now is to keep the humidity up on them and let them see what they do. So essentially there's going to be second flushes. How big on each one is going to be mostly determined by how much medium was used on their first flush for growing of the mushroom. You know, the bigger everything the mushroom, I think the quicker you run out of flushes. So we will go on to the next mushroom. Alright, we're in what I call the grow room now. And I did get an extra one of these and actually stuck it in there with my Reishi. It's right just below 70 actually, about 69. And the humidity is up there around 60%. Now that doesn't mean that's what's in the Reishi, because I still haven't cut the top of the bag off here. And then I have this on there. So as you can see, these are getting, this is in the antler stage now. We'll see maybe another week. These are very slow growing mushrooms. So actually, if you're into herbs and mushrooms, if you're into medicinal ones, Reishi might be a good mushroom to work with. I mean, they also use it in cooking, but it's really, its main purpose has always been more of a medicinal mushroom. And I'm going to do an info video on that one too. I'm guessing maybe another week as it goes. It is very slow growing mushroom. As you can see, this one, since it's been in the warmer room, is doing better. Okay, now here's my shiitake. I soaked them last night. Tomorrow would be 2 weeks since I started drying them out. And they say you can, a week to 21 days is how long you can. So I let these dry out for a couple days, or a couple of weeks I should say, due to I was getting some mold on them and I wanted to kind of fix that problem. And then I soaked them last night in water and put the sticks in the bags this morning, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll get at least another flush and we'll go from there. So we'll see in a week where we're at on these. I have them in this room. I'm going to leave them on the rocks for now, but what I'm not going to do is put any water in those rocks. I'm going to kind of actually use them as a sort of help with air circulation too. I've been putting this paper bag over actually to reduce the amount of light they get, because they're very low light mushroom, at least until toward the end when you want to get caps. So they get some light. It's just not a lot of light, and that's the purpose of me putting this my worm bedding for my worms and whatnot. So this is sort of the mushroom update. This is where we're at this time. I have one other thing I'm going to add here to the video, and that's my new setup and my new experiment I'm going to try. And I don't know if I'll use these blocks in it, or I move them all in there, or if I will get one of each. I probably won't get more reishi because I got to put the reishi in there. But I might get one. The sale is off on these anyways now, so they're $24 for a kit. But I might go ahead and get one shiitake, one oyster, and one lion's mane. So we'll end ourselves here. So we're going to put this together. Shelter Logic Grow It 4-tier mini grow house. It's 23 by 17 by 57 as its dimensions. My little helper Lacey will be supervising. Right? Right. Alright, so here's our list. We have 16 of these, 10 of those, 12 of these longer ones, one little cover, and 4 racks. They're not overly heavy, but this is for the mushroom, so they won't be needed. So we have that. Now we'll just put it together. Lacey's supervising from under the table. Right, Lacey? Lacey! Atta girl. My silly girl. Alright, so we've put it together. You know, I got this from what used to be called Mill Fleet Farm. Now it's just Fleet Farm. It's sort of a Minnesota, Wisconsin, I don't know where else, maybe North Dakota kind of fleet supply that we have. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. It depends, but I was actually I went over to Menards, because we have a Menards. We have a Home Depot, a Menards, and a Fleet Supply. Anyways, I went and got their kit. I could send in a rebate and get $3. Oh, it wasn't worth. I took it back. They had parts missing, and it was a piece of junk. Both made in China, but this one is a better made. I like the fact. We'll take this little wire right off. I don't know if you can see. So we have these poles in the middle. I know, kind of noisy. You know, on each shelf area. And the one in the middle is really important because these are not very stiff shelf covers. So if you put anything heavy on it, it would go down. So this will work really good for this. Anyways, the idea is to actually consolidate this whole area that this table takes up onto here. So the other thing I'm going to do is put this little heat mat up. It's a 10 by 20 heat mat, which is the size of one of these trays. I'm thinking, my thoughts are, since heat rises, I'm going to put it on the bottom shelf. So the mushroom who needs the warmest heat will be on the bottom or closest to the bottom. And the mushroom that needs the most light, because I'm thinking about putting, I'll have to double check this, some sort of 2-foot light in there. And probably one with not a lot of lumens, because the mushrooms won't need a lot. So that's my thoughts. And then we'll have this plastic cover, which we'll put on now. So the little plastic cover slips on just like you're putting on a sweater with no arms though. So we'll just pull this down here. So it goes all the way to the bottom. Now, those who are familiar with mushroom growing knows that you need higher humidity. So the idea behind this whole setup is not only consolidate my space, but now I can enclose and regulate my humidity a little bit better. I will have, I'm going to see, I've got a couple of 2-foot lights. If not, I've got some other little under the counter ones, and I'll figure out how to set those up. It has zippers, like so, and then you can, let's see here, we get this. And you might not be able to see what I'm doing, but we'll see here. Anyways, they're a little crowded right now. You can roll this up. And roll this a little tighter though. And you tie it off with those strings, and I'll hold it up. But in this case, I will probably be just leaving them down and it zipped up because that'll hold the humidity in. The heat mat. Now you can get these probably online at, well, I know you can get some of these on Amazon. I don't know about this particular one. I know you can get some really cheap ones and they don't last. I have bought, forget who the company is, and we have electricity in this room. I've got to finish getting access to it here with my drywall. But, so my thoughts are, because these little heat mats, like this, I'll just put one on the put it on the shelf here. It can handle wet, moisture, and whatnot. Handy thing to have. And I've gotten the more expensive ones. Forget the names of them. I'll put it up. They're actually quite durable. And so if everything is cool with your plugins and whatever you have, actually I have a few of those that lasted me probably well over 15 years or more, maybe even longer. 17 years actually. So, but your cheaper ones won't hold up. So sometimes it's a little better to put out the extra money and buy a little better grade. But this one cost probably $18.99 or something like that. And then this greenhouse kit was $29.99. So I have about $50 into this. So this is my $50 experiment. I will put the mushrooms in there and we'll take a look at what it looks like. There's a bit of a struggle here. I had to take the stakes, the little skewers out of these, because I wondered about that, if the shells would not be wide enough apart. You know, up here they are, but if I decide to put a real dim light, then I'll have to not have stakes. But and the humidity tents, and you need air circulation for some of these anyway, so it might end up being. But a person, I think, could determine, and that's the basis behind this, is determine if this basic setup is going to work in keeping humidity and whatnot up, because that seems to be the biggest factor. Mostly is humidity. the light with mushrooms is probably not as big a factor as possible. Like I said, I've got the oyster mushrooms on top, which require the most light, and then subsequently, as we go down the line here, I'll have to look between the lion's mane and the shiitake. But the idea behind it is, if the mushroom needs less light, they're going to be down lower for warmth, because I'll have the heat pad is now on the bottom, very bottom shelf now, where this tray is. And when I get that turned on and set up, then the heat, since it rises, will radiate up, and I will hopefully get an idea of where the warmest temp is. And maybe I will, for those mushrooms that like it cooler and dark, I may want to change things around a bit. So, and my other thoughts were, is if this works fairly well, I may want to build one that's taller, where I have more shelf space. I don't remember I wonder if I have a tape measure in here by chance. Oh, goody, looky here. Let's see how far apart these are from shelf to shelf. Right around 12 inches. You can see my tape very well here. And I've got the light on in here. Anyway, so it's about 12 inches. And it's possible a person would need at least, well, let's take a guess here. Looks like 16 maybe? 18 inches at the most. You know, you could build a shelf out of wood with wood slats in it. One of the YouTube people that I seen, she'd found a really nice shelf with looked like a cloth cover over it. When I think about it more and more, I begin to think that it was a handmade one, just by how it was made. But it was a good idea because everything was made with 1x2s and smaller wood slats on the shelves, and then you had your cover, which you can get. This is like a heavy vinyl plastic. It's really not the best stuff. I mean, if this was outside, it wouldn't last a season. The plastic wouldn't. It just, between the sun and everything else, it would deteriorate. But you can find polyweave and some other, you know, greenhouse type stuff, because they do a lot of these where they sew them together, so you just have to get the right material and then have a machine that can kind of handle something a little more heavyweight, and you could sew up basically a cover like this has. But you can see this is I wouldn't call it cloth, but it's sort of a plastic border on it, and it's sewn. I don't know if you can see. I gotta get away a little bit. Light's not very good in here. Anyways, it's stitched. Maybe there. There we go. You can see that it's stitched there. So this is stitched. So the plastic is stitched together with this little vinyl type fabric. So a person could probably find some weatherproof. See, they have this here because they're attaching zippers. Now a person could not have zippers and come up with some other ideas. Because this back here is just one solid piece. And then the side piece is just one solid piece, so everything is shaped, the front and the back, due to your bars. and you could probably get some, not PVC pipe, but aluminum. Is that aluminum? That you can bend, aluminum pipe you can bend, and if you wanted to make a roof type situation. But if you made the tallest shelf with a top section on it tall enough, this was about 18 inches, and if you wanted to add a light, you know, right about here is 18 inches. So if you wanted to add a light and make it higher, so then you could have it flat, and you wouldn't need this bow, so to speak. And being inside, it probably wouldn't really need to have, you know, the roof kind of line. I've got all the mushrooms in. They're sitting there. Let's see. The humidity in here now, it's still right about 60 degrees, but the humidity I don't know if you can see that very well. I'll pull back. Anyways, it's rated about 80%. So inside the mushrooms is going to be a lot higher because I have the bags on them. And that's kind of the idea. So this is working pretty good. I'll just bring this out and see if we can see that. Probably not because it's really dark, but you can see. There we are. It's about 80% with about 60 degrees. Now that might be sufficient as far as degrees go. I'm going to put that a little lower and see what everything is lower. But it looks like this is going to work pretty good, and it'll keep our humidity up. And 80%, so yeah, I could actually set the shiitakes in there without a tent on them, and they'd probably be fine. I'd probably even just let them sit on the racks there without anything below them. Anyways, I will kind of get my mushrooms a little more organized here, and for our next weekly update, and we'll see how this all turns out. But right now it's looking pretty promising because I've been away since I started this, probably an hour or two now, clearing out junk out of the camera here, phone camera. And the humidity is raised up that high already, 80%. So it'll probably be a little cooler down closer to the floor. But that was up to 60, so that'll be kind of interesting to see how that turns out. And we'll just leave this for our update for this week and our new experiment. And might need to do some oxygen exchanging in here. I might have to figure some of that out. The actual idea came from a Pinterest photo I ran across looking at mushroom setups. And a guy had this similar setup. And he had an air exchanger that came in on this little thing in there, and it came in on the side, it came out, and then I suppose it came out on the bottom somewhere along the lines. And that was for the mushrooms that needed that air exchange, which most of these do. Hence why you have the cuts humidity bags that go on them. So if I plan this out right, it could be that I could figure out a way to exchange the air and keep the carbon dioxide down. And then, like the reishi, if they stay in their bag until they get tall enough for when you want to have the conches down on them, then you just leave them in the bag and then open them up, and everything will be. So it take a little more planning here to kind of get things sorted. But so far, humidity-wise, this is looking pretty promising. And I come in here, and I'll be coming in here probably spritzing once a day anyways, and checking on the humidity. So I can open up, let the air circulate while I'm doing that. It'll take me a few minutes, and then zip it all back up again, and it'll probably be fine. And even if I had to do it twice a day, it's not a big deal. Probably 5-10 minutes at a time. So anyways, well, we'll see you all next week then in the next update. Have a good one.